but we're going to review Camera Raw here. This is the DNG file, which is digital negative. Um, these were originally shot in CR2, but I switched them over. They are still raw, but they are a little less space. So we'll open this up. And this is just a simple portrait. So you have to remember, the first thing that you need to check is to make sure you are in Adobe 98 and in 16-bit, because there's no sense in toning in 8-bit when you can tone in 16-bit. So you have a much higher quality image. So we'll just hit OK for that. So the first thing is, this kind of just replaces optimizing and toning a photo, and it's non-destructive. Good part of it is you don't alter your image, and if you blow out or have weird color, unlike a JPEG where you can't really fix that and bring it back, in RAW you can easily bring highlights, open up shadows, change color spaces. So first thing we've got up here is auto color. If we wanted to go to tungsten, obviously these are not going to work because they're shot outside. Here's flash. Flash rarely looks good, but actually it's not too bad. So I'll just leave it to that for now since I'm not really interested. I'm going to bring down the exposure just a hair. So right in here that we don't lose too much. He does have some blue in his shirt and stuff, and that's pretty normal to get that weird color. It's a little flat over here, so we'll go in and fix that. So just like toning, it's actually much simpler because you've got all your sliders and stuff right here. There's clarity, vibrance, and saturation, which I do not really use at this point in an image. So I think you're better off using it later. So we have other buttons. This is curves. This is, it has sharpening, but I'm not going to really use sharpening. What's important is this noise control here. So if you had a high ISO image, I use this pretty much anything shot above 4000 ISO. I usually somewhere between 9 and 15, and it's a pretty decent noise removal system. The thing to remember is don't use your color, just use luminance. You don't need to use color. So we've got other sliders in here. This is a pretty decent one where you have this blue. I could use, since I'm in saturation, you can see by increasing it, showing you where that blue is. We can completely suck that back out to a neutral color since that is a gray t-shirt. There might be some cyan in it. That's not. That's an easy way to tell if you have that color in your photo. It's sometimes hard to tell the difference between cyan and blue. So by increasing your saturation way over there, will show you if that color's in there. You also have hue and luminance, so you can go ahead and play with those if you want. We're just gonna skip this stuff because truthfully it's just gonna make your life too complicated and it's gonna take too long for you to learn everything. But there are some other effects that you can do, but we're gonna skip those for now. The other important thing that I really like, and I don't really normally crop in here, is this history brush. In history, it's not a history brush, it's just a brush, and it's basically for spot toning. So you can, let's say we wanted to just darken an area up a little bit. We're going to go minus using the bracket keys, and you just can literally paint in. Let's say you wanted to darken that. You can erase if you don't like something you did. So if you want to erase it, you can erase it. You can see. I hit Command Z to get rid of that. And if you want to tone a new area, for instance, let's say we want to increase the contrast over here, but you don't want to use the same settings, you hit new and they default back. Unfortunately, these don't go back to 0. So we're going to increase the contrast. Maybe decrease the highlights a little bit. I wouldn't normally do this here at this point, but I'd probably do this in Photoshop. So if you need more, like I think it needs to be a little darker, you can actually just move your sliders. You can repaint over it if you missed an area. It doesn't darken your areas that you already painted. The only way it would darken it again is if you created another new and went over it again, then it would darken it. Then you have these little points. If you want to go back and showing you that area and readjust that, you can just double click on that. Same thing with this area, showing you your mask. It's showing me that I missed right here too. So that looks pretty good. There is one other thing. This is kind of like a point slider where you can go in and you're saying, I want to affect everything in this area. So by changing and moving this slider, you can see it's just more affecting the highlights and stuff in that area. Of course, going this way is going to brighten it up. You can go this way. That's increasing your contrast, decreasing your contrast. Alright, we'll Command Z that because we're not going to use it. So that looks pretty close, good to me. I'm going to hit OK. And that's going to open the image in Camera Raw into Photoshop. And from here, we're just going to go and naturally tone as we would. I'll do a super quick version tone of this just so people can see me working with the tools and see ones that I use the most. This is working slow. I think my computer needs to be restarted, so hang in with it here. It's a big file. So first thing I'm going to do is optimize, and I use image auto tone, which I don't even know where it is because I don't use it. I use the quick key, which is Command Shift L, and that is going to optimize my photo. And that looks like horrible, so I'm going to Command Z that and not use it. I'm going to hit Command M, which is curves, and I'm going to adjust that. Remember, if you hit Alt, you can drag this in and see where your highlights are. I don't want to actually increase my highlights, so I'm not going to use it. I'll slide this over. I'll show you what I was doing. So there it's saying I finally have white. I don't want white, so I'm not going to do it. Just going to increase that contrast a little bit and hit OK. From here, we can use the lasso, which is probably the most used tool that I use. I'm going to increase this to 55 feather, which is a pretty big feather. I'm going to quickly draw this, though I don't know if I... Alright, I crashed my computer. I don't know if this is the exact same photo I was working on before, but it's pretty close. And I did a raw conversion. I have it back in here, though. I didn't do as much to it as I did before. So what I was trying to do here is I set the feather to 66. So I'm going to go in here and just do a quick selection. Not doing anything too fancy. It's alright if you messed that up. No, feather was good, so it didn't go. If you needed to clean it up, obviously Alt reduces it, so whatever I circle will get rid of. So what I really want to do in here is just kind of bring those highlights down. You're still working slow. Increase that contrast just to kind of richen and darken and deepen that area. That'll make your foreground pop a little more. The other thing I see here is this is a little bit too contrasty and hot. So I'm going to actually open this up. This flattens the contrast. Do this to add some, get rid of the highlights. I'm going to drag it down. Since it's kind of a white, I want more of the highlights. So I'll drag it down. Alright, so we kind of darkened that. That's pretty good. Other thing I see is this shirt. It's a little flat. Actually, I'll go up to his neckline and get rid of this. So I got lucky. I did a pretty good selection. Same thing. Curves. Just so you can see. Image, adjustment, curves. Kind of move this out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. And darken this a little bit. See what it looks like if I add some contrast. Too dark. So right about there seems pretty good. Oh, so I think I'm gonna go ahead. I'm actually gonna get part of that ear. I'm doing this on a laptop, so my selections aren't perfect. And I'll slide this over so you can see it. I'm just gonna darken that area back there. And I actually wanted to darken that ear a little bit, so I might as well just do it with the background. It's not going to really affect too much. So, alright, that's pretty good. That darkened little contrast. So now I'm going to zoom, and I'm using Command plus. So we can get in here to this face, clean this up. The best thing for general cleaning is this spot healing brush. You don't need to set a target. You can just click on stuff. It reads the content of where it reads. There is. Like there's a little line here. You can just drag that. So you get that. So any of this stuff you want to clean up, get rid of that. Just click on. Once you get closer to an eye, sometimes it reads this eye and adds that, and it doesn't look good. Same thing when you do it around lips. I hit the space bar, brings you this little hand, lets me drag it down so I can see. It's like little, it was hot out that day, so there's little sweat marks. I'm pretty sure on this image, clean up his neck, so same thing. I'm going to get rid of these neck marks. You just kind of, they're gone. You don't want to drag too far though, because for some reason if you go like this too far, sometimes it gives you can see it. Doesn't look too bad, that one. Pretty even tone in the neck. So pretty much get the idea of that. So I'm going to drag down here. One of the things I'll do is you get these highlights on noses. Just click on that. And it made like a flat spot. So I'm going to hit Command Z. I'm going to switch to this clone stamp. And I'm actually going to change this flow rate to about 70. Now the flow is kind of low opacity. It's just using 70% of the effect. So you can see that looks much more natural. Another thing you can do is open up eyes. Is change your feather. I usually use 2. And so Command plus, bring that over here. Just do a quick. Yeah, you absolutely have to stay in here. Like you can't mess that up because it's such a fine feather that you'll see it. You have to make sure you have a pretty accurate selection. So we are just gonna, sometimes the eyes get a cyan color, so you can suck that cyan out too in hue and saturation. So we're just gonna increase this contrast. Hold on. For some reason we deselected that last selection. So let me redo that. Alright, I'm going to actually add this little bitty piece in here. Alright. You don't need to do it a lot. These eyes were pretty bright as it was. If you do it too much, you'll make the pupil and stuff look flat. Actually, some of the programs I go and I actually do the whites separately from If you had this cyanish green in here, you can see which color it is. We'll try blue first. Drag this over. You can see it's a little bit of blue. Cyan. It's got some of that. Cyan's a good one to take away. And it's actually, I'm not going to get rid of it, but it's probably full of yellow. So we'll just hit OK. That gets rid of some of it. So that easy way to open up eyes. So usually I would change this feather back. 66 maybe. Come in here. We'll darken his forehead down. Move this so you can see. I don't want to do the shadows, so I'm going to bring that curve back up. That just flattens it a little bit. And it's not perfect. This is hue saturation. It's got a little yellow cast in there, so I'm just going to go in the yellow channel and drag it this way. It gives a little red. So we'll say that looks pretty good. And you wanted to save this and print it. So crop, I'm not going to crop this one really. I guess I could come in a little bit if I wanted. Hit OK. I pretty much crop everything 6:9. Get rid of that. Next thing I'm going to do is size this. So I'm going to go to image size. Let's say I wanted to print it 6:9. I would change this width to 9. That would be 300, which it is. I'll hit OK. You'll see this shrink. I'll open it back up. Next thing I'm going to do is unsharp mask, which is in sharpen. Unsharp mask, you can use smart sharpen or unsharp mask. That's a pretty standard one for me. That will give you some crisp contours. Normally I would vignette this. I'm not going to spend the time, but if you want to do it, it's pretty easy. You just make a selection. This is like the quick and dirty, easy way. And so now if I made a vignette, it would actually be the wrong spot. It would be the face with the outside part. So I hit cancel. And if you go to select inverse, which is shift command I, it will select the opposite part. And you don't want to do this a lot or you'll see the edge. And make sure your feather is pretty high. You can drag this down and get a feather, sort of a vignette, quick easy one. Hit OK. So the last thing you need to do before you print an image is image mode and change it back to 8 bits. Then I would save this and automatically will not let you save it back over, so it's trying to save it as a PSD file. I'll just save it. And that's pretty much it. That's a quick and easy tone for hopefully this helps.